guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Michaela, and today's video is going to be all about my first year teaching. So I've gotten a lot of requests and just had conversations with people who are interested in like learning about my first year as a teacher. I am a 4th grade teacher, and I just got finished this past school year with my first year of teaching. So it was very interesting, just like I feel like if you ask any other teacher, your first year is pretty rough, but I had the best year possible, and I can't wait for the next upcoming school year. So without further ado, because I'm sure this video will be long as it is, let's go ahead and get into my experience, and then some tips for you guys if you are going to be a first year teacher, or if you're a student teacher, or if you're just interested in the teaching profession. My first year, my first experience, so I student taught at the school that I teach at. I student taught 3rd grade, and so I got offered a job, which I was so thankful for, during my student teaching year. So going into my first year, so over the summer before my first year, I was told that I was going to be a kindergarten teacher. So I did not want to teach kindergarten. I had always imagined myself teaching like upper grades. So but over the summer I had gotten with the kindergarten team. I had prepared myself to teach kindergarten, etc., etc. So if you are a kindergarten teacher, or you're familiar with kindergarten like curriculum, you know that kindergarten and 4th grade are totally different when you are planning for them. I had it in my mind that the first week of school I would be teaching them how to hold pencils, seeing who could already write their name, numbers, shapes, colors, etc. So that's what I had prepared myself for, and that's not what happened. So over the summer I went to kindergarten professional development. Like I said, I met with the team. I was ready to teach kindergarten. In-service week, which is when teachers go back before the kids get there, I had halfway set up my kindergarten classroom, and yeah, I was prepared. I used my discretionary funds, which is the little money that your school or the district gives you to buy things for your classroom that's not your own money. So I had spent that money on things for kindergarten and stuff like that. So leading up to kindergarten stagger week, which is what my school does, so like 12 girls, 12 boys come on Monday, 12 boys, 12 girls come on Tuesday, 12 girls, 12 boys come on Wednesday, 12 girls, 12 boys come on Thursday, and then on Friday the parents and students get to know who their teacher is. So the whole week all the kindergarten teachers stay together, and they just kind of assess who already knows how to, like, who knows what shapes, who knows what colors, etc. So anyways, for kindergarten stagger week, before then, my principal comes to me and says, stop setting up your classroom. Pretty short, the district expected so many kindergarten kids to be enrolled and coming, and it just didn't happen. Therefore, there was no need for an extra kindergarten teacher, which was me. So that whole first week of school, I just helped with stagger week, and on that Friday I did not get a class. And yeah, so it was a pretty nerve-wracking first week of school. It's definitely not how I expected my first week to go at all. I'm someone who suffers from anxiety as it is, so that was a very uneasy week for me. But yeah, so the first week I just helped with the kindergarten team. I just did the stagger week. I mean, we didn't know where I was going to be teaching, so I just kind of toughed it out and just kind of waited. So I think it was like in the middle of the 2nd week of school, finally we got an answer, and they said you're moving to 4th grade. So in one day I had to wait until the teacher in my current room was moved out, move myself in, call all my parents and tell them that their child is coming to me the next day, and then I had the kids the next day. So it was a very stressful first 2 weeks of school, because essentially what happened was there was 5 4th grade teachers, and I basically took like 4 or 5 out of each class. So we were all on different pages, like you have a personalized supply list, and so none of us had the same supplies hardly. There's like a core supply box, so like we had all that, but like some of us had 4 yellow folders and some of us had absolutely none, and then some of us had 2 random blue folders, and then some of us had 4 random blue folders. Like, it was a hot mess express, and I only had that day to set up my classroom. So when I tell you that my brain was all over the place, it was genuinely all over the place. It was how the beginning of my first year started. So I just felt like this school year my feet were never fully on the ground like I would have liked them to be. I feel like obviously you never have enough time to prepare, but had I had like a little bit more time to prepare and look over 4th grade stuff, I just would have felt better. But the beautiful thing about it, God had the plan all worked out. It just wasn't my plan. I had student taught in 3rd grade, so I got 12 of my same kids in 4th grade, which was really awesome because I already knew them. I already knew their parents knew me, they were already comfortable with me. So I'm definitely thankful that it worked out like that. Like I said, God had a plan that just wasn't mine. And so yeah, and with that being said, having like looping with half of your class is so fun. It definitely presented some of its challenges because it was really hard for the kids to transition into, all right, she was this fun student teacher last year to now she's a real teacher that like I have to respect, and she's the real deal. She's not like the play teacher. So that definitely presented some classroom management struggles throughout the year, but overall, like, I have like such an attachment to this group of kids. First of all, they were my first class. Second of all, half of them I had already been with them for 2 years, so they hold such a special place in my heart. Like, we sobbed on the last day whenever like it was the last day of school and they were gonna be big 5th graders. Like, we literally had like a cry fest. So definitely the relationships that I built with this class were like, so they were just such a fun class. Like, they all had personalities, and it was so cool to get to watch them go from like 8-year-olds to essentially 10-year-olds. So it was a really fun year. Like I said, there were some challenges, and just me being a new teacher, not really knowing what I'm doing in the first place, and getting thrown into a new grade where I literally didn't know what I was doing, it was definitely interesting, but we got through it. Besides that, I had a pretty smooth first year. I was a little scared about like state testing, but overall it was a really, I mean, 4th grade is really fun. Like, I really like teaching 4th grade, and I would love to continue to teach 4th grade. So that's the plan for this year. So I'm really excited to have a summer to be able to like plan and figure out what I want and figure out what worked from last year and what didn't work from last year and tweak things. So I'm super excited to get a 2nd year in 4th grade. I just think it's a really fun age. I'm going to offer some tips. Like I said, was a 1st year teacher. I'm going into my 2nd year, so by no means do I like know everything or am an expert, but I figured while my 1st year is fresh on my mind, I just wanted to share some tips. So like I said, if you're a student teacher or if you're going into your 1st year or etc., I hope that some of these tips can help you. The first thing I just want to kind of say is to focus on classroom management. If there's one thing that deemed like so true, is that classroom management is so incredibly important. Figure out what system you want to go with and do it. For me personally, I started off the beginning of the year with a clip chart because my mentor teacher the year before started with a clip chart, and so I was just like, well, it worked for her, it will probably work for me, and it just didn't work. So halfway through the year, I sent a letter to parents basically saying that I was going to change the classroom management to Class Dojo, and I can make a whole video about Class Dojo if people are interested, but I absolutely love Class Dojo. It's how I communicate with my parents, it's how I do behavior management, my reward system, everything like that. I also do a classroom economy, so that is incorporated with Class Dojo, and that has nothing to do with Class Dojo. That's just something that personally I wanted to incorporate, so the students have classroom jobs and they get paid and etc. But besides that, find something that works for you and works for your class. Obviously there will be a lot of trial and error over the years, but yeah, classroom management is so important, and that's something that I am really gonna try. All of these things are things that I'm going to try really hard to just get better at. Like I said, this was only my first year, so there are so many things that I get to perfect for the years to come. Next tip that I have is consistency is key. This was something that was really deemed to be a struggle for me this year, is just staying consistent. I feel like your first year, especially with like the Instagram pages and teachers pay teachers, there's so many trends that you see that you're gonna be so tempted to like jump on board and just throw it at your kids, and it's not going to work like that. So that's something that I had to learn this year. I love Instagram, I love Pinterest, and I was constantly seeing all these things, and of course try them, but also stay consistent with things. So something, for example, for me that I'm gonna stay consistent is the classroom economy like store. However many weeks in that your kids get paid, if you're gonna open up the classroom store on a Friday, try to stay consistent, and every Friday that's when they get to shop and use their money. Just little things like that, for an example, are going to cut down on so many questions. It's going to cut down on you having to explain yourself all the time, and it just makes it so smooth. When the kids know what to expect, there is little room for, I mean, obviously there's always room for error, but they are going to ask significantly less questions, and you're going to be able to get through your day without having to stop every 5 seconds for a kid to raise their hand and ask, what about this, what about that, what about this? So if you just stay consistent, it tends to run a whole lot better. And that may be such a no-brainer for some people, but like genuinely, like teachers especially, try to stay consistent in all of your procedures, and it's really just going to help the year go by a lot smoother. The next one is kind of, I don't know, it's not controversial, but while I'm not saying spend a ton of money on classroom decor, I am saying that your classroom needs to be a place that you enjoy being in. For me, I'm in my classroom so, like in a day, I'm in my classroom more than I am anywhere else. So for me, if it's not, I'm not gonna say cute, but if it's not somewhere that I enjoy being, like I don't enjoy being there. And why wouldn't you want to enjoy being in a place and feeling comfortable in a place that you're gonna have to be in literally all the time? For me, it's kind of like my bedroom. Like if I don't enjoy being in my bedroom, I don't want to be in it. And with a classroom, you just don't have that option. So for me, I really wanted to have something that, I mean, by no means am I saying that having a cute class is all of it, but just having a space that like you enjoy being in. Having an organized space where you walk in and you're like, okay, I like being in here. Like I like the colors of the room. I like the way it's set up. I like that I have this cute little area right here. Just, it makes me happy when I look at it. Having a space that is your happy space is going to be so important, especially your first year teaching, because it's probably the year that you're going to spend the most time in your classroom. So just creating a happy space is really important, and that can happen super cheap, or if you want to spend a lot of money on it, I mean, I don't recommend spending a lot of money, but just take the time in the beginning of the year and just make it a space that you enjoy being in. The next tip I have is to know your curriculum. This year my school 3 through 5 got a whole new reading curriculum, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard, not only being a first year teacher but also not having the luxury of being able to go to a veteran teacher and being like, oh, how did you do this, or what did you do last year with this curriculum set, or what did you do last year with this assessment. So it definitely was something where we were all trying to find our footing, but just knowing your curriculum is so important. Like take the time to just bring it home, or find a time in the week to just look over it and always know what you're teaching ahead of time. Also with evaluations, it's definitely going to show if you know what you're teaching and if you don't. And for me, my administration, that was something that was really important to them, was that we were sticking to the curriculum and that we knew what we were talking about and we were implementing it in the best way that we could. And that's just not going to happen if you don't know your curriculum. So always make sure to, like, before the next unit, just spend some time in your curriculum so that you know what you're talking about and your kids don't have to keep correcting you, because they will. And this is just something that I personally like to do. So for me, I said to pick mornings or afternoons. So for me, I would get to school super early. Like, I'm just known for that. Like, I get to school relatively early. That's just who I am as a person. I'm an early bird. I don't like to feel late. I don't like to feel rushed. Like, I will get so anxious. So I definitely would get there at 6:30, right when the doors open, and be there. And then that gave me, first of all, a time where not a lot of people were in the building and I could get myself together. Second of all, it gave me time to plan and prepare for my day, write a to-do list in the morning, figure out what I need to do, make last minute copies if I needed to, and just get my room situated before the kids got in there. And then as soon as the bell rang and we were able to go, I left. So I was also known for that. I had my bags packed, and after it was time for dismissal to be over, I was gone. So it's definitely important to pick a time, and if you're not a morning person, that's fine. Stay a little bit later in the afternoon. But I definitely wouldn't recommend doing both because you're just going to get burnt out. So if you're an afternoon person and you're not a morning person, say, okay, on these certain days, I'm gonna spend 1 hour in my classroom after school prepping and planning, and then I'm going home. I'm not getting here an hour earlier. I'm just gonna stay an hour later, and then I'm going home. For me, that was getting there an hour earlier in the morning. So I said on these certain days, which was kind of every day, these certain days, I'm gonna get to school an hour early. I'm gonna plan, and then right when it's time to go, I'm not gonna overexhaust myself. Like, for me, when the bell rings, my brain goes with the bell, okay? So like, I am emotionally, mentally, and physically checked out after 3:15. So nothing is gonna get done. I'm just gonna be frustrated, and it's gonna put me in a bad mood. So for me, I picked mornings, and that really seemed to help. And I had a pretty religious routine where I got there early, I did what I need to do, I worked, and then I left. And I feel like a lot of new teachers need to hear, and that's that not all trends are going to work in your classroom. Like I said earlier, Instagram and teacher Instagrams can be so helpful, and Teachers Pay Teachers is like the biggest it's ever been, but not everything is going to work for your classroom and in your classroom. I feel like so many people feel, or so many student teachers feel like Teachers Pay Teachers is the end all be all, and I know that's what I thought. And guys, really, if you ask the people in your like hallway, if you ask the people in your grade level, more than likely they're gonna have something of the same like value, and you're not gonna have to pay for it. It may not be as cute as you want it, but it's something that they've been using and is effective. So definitely don't get caught up in the hype of Teachers Pay Teachers. Definitely make sure that you're not wasting all this money on things that you just don't need because they come in a cute PowerPoint or they come in a cute font, okay? Like, just make sure that what you're buying off Teachers Pay Teachers is ultimately going to assess and help your children. And if it's not going to do that, then why are you spending your money? For this one, I would say just find one person that you can go to, kind of like a mentor. For me, I was so thankful to get to work in the same school as my mentor teacher that I had during student teaching. So now we're like best friends, and I love her to death, and she was always there to help me. And so she also had the kids that I had the year before, so it really made for a smooth year, and I got to ask her for a lot of advice. Also, my school and the district sets me up with like a mentor, instructional mentor teacher, and so I had 2 mentors that I could go to. And definitely, if your school doesn't set that up, set it up for you. Find a veteran teacher that you trust and that you can go to and just ask all the questions, because you are going to have all of the questions, okay? It's so scary your first year because you just don't know what you're doing and you don't feel like you have anything together, but I promise you do, and I promise there's always going to be at least one person on your grade level or in your building that you can go to for help. The last thing that I'm going to talk about, I mean, I could go on and on, so if you guys liked this video, let me know if you want more or whatever, but is make time for you. This is the most cliche thing that I could possibly say, but it is so true, y'all. And this is something that I have to actively work on. Like, I need to take my own advice on, because in August and September and even October, y'all, I was working myself to death. I was getting there at 6:30 in the morning, working all day, leaving, but then I would come home and immediately get out my stuff, and I would work until midnight, and then I would wake up at 5:30, get there early, come home, work till midnight. And I was doing this over and over and over again, and I tend to be a workaholic in the sense of I just don't know when to stop. Like, I have worked on so much stuff over the summer, and I often forget to take breaks for myself, and it's not pretty when that happens. You have got to take care of yourself, because how could you possibly take care of 20 plus children, or in my case 25 children, if you're not taking care of yourself? Your mental health, your physical health, drinking water, doing whatever, finding you time, meditating. For me, I like to just drive in silence sometimes, or I like to listen to podcasts that help me relax, like on the way to school and on the way home. Just find somehow, some way to give yourself the self-care and the personal time that you need, because you can genuinely not take care of all these kids and meet their needs if you can't even meet your own needs. Like I said, if you guys like this video, please leave comments down below. If you want any other teacher related videos, I like doing this. I like talking about teaching. It's obviously my passion, it's what I do, and yeah, I could talk all day long. So if you have any questions, any video requests at all, just go ahead and leave them down below. Y'all, I'm so thankful for all of my subscribers. I swear we're like growing by the day, and it's making me so happy. I'm so thankful. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.